back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. It's episode 321. We've got a fantastic guest on our Wednesday show here. We've got Breanna Gunn, and we're going to be talking about launching your course, your membership site. We're going to have a feast all around that. So, Bree, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the audience and listeners?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Of course. My name is Brea, and I help business owners launch their courses and membership sites.
Oh, that's great. And Cindy, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Cindy Nicholson from thecoursewhisperer.co, and I help entrepreneurs that want to create a course that their clients will rave about.
That sounds great. And I'm the founder of WP-Tonic. We're all things WordPress, and we help get your membership learning management system up and running, support it, get it launched. We deal with all the tech stuff so you can concentrate on your content and building up a great course. Before we go, start off, Brea, I think you need to increase the volume a little bit if you can, because it went down a little bit, unless you pushed it.
Let me see if I can. Hold on. Is that better?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Let me just move closer to my mouth. How about that?
Yeah, that's it. That's great. So, as we had a little discussion before, launching a product, a membership website, a course is a product. You've got to launch it. So let's start the conversation. Where do you see some of the major problems people have around this area?
So a lot of the problem is people will create a course or a membership site, or they'll have a really great idea for one. And they're like, okay, I'll put up the title of it, or I'll think of something really great and I'll put it out there. And then they think that's it. I think it's that whole, if you build it, they will come scenario where you assume that because you're well known in this arena or that arena, that people are going to automatically know you have this other thing out there that you may not have mentioned or talked about, or maybe you mentioned it in passing months ago, and then you created it and you're like, well, where is everybody? Yeah. And it happens a lot. And there's a lot more that goes into actually getting the product off the ground. Cindy creates courses. I take the courses similar to what she creates and help get them out to the people who need to see them so that they can buy them.
That's great. So maybe we can delve into some of the mythologies and ways they can get that message out.
Yeah. One of the biggest hangups I see lately is people are creating courses around an expertise that they have that doesn't necessarily align with their current business. Maybe they're a blogger who's gotten really good at SEO, but their audience who knows that they're a DIY blogger doesn't need the SEO help. So they have to build a brand new audience, or they need to market it in a different way. Or you create a membership site because, you started out, I myself started out as like a VA, and I see a lot of ex VAs or VAs who have moved up or moved on. Like, I want to help people who are just starting out, but their client base is not newbies. They're not brand new to the market, and they're marketing to these people who really don't care. It doesn't matter to them. They don't need the product. And so you get these people, oh, it failed. Okay, well, I'm just not good at this. I'll stop. And it's not a matter of not being good at it. It's a matter of understanding how you're perceived in the marketplace and being willing and able to kind of shift how you approach attracting the right kind of clients, the right kind of customers. And then, being able to maintain the support on the back end. Once you do find those people, you have to keep them happy. And it's more than just tech. The tech side, you have that nailed. But what happens when someone wants a refund? Or when you have a massive user error because they can't remember which one of 46 passwords they use to get into your course, and that becomes your fault. It's handling those weird things that you don't think about that will throw people, and they'll freak out because they assumed that when they launched the course, that was the end of it. And then they're blindsided when there's continuing customer service, or, a section or a module of the course or a piece of the content that you have for your membership site is out of date or needs to be refilmed or becomes irrelevant. Or, you find a really great new thing you want to promote, but you just sold this other product. So suddenly you become all about sales, and people who've paid to be there are tired of getting sold to, and you start having disgruntled customers. It's just, there's a lot that goes into the actual launching and production that people just, I call it the Bermuda Triangle of launching. They like to pretend that if they don't look at it, it's not there.
Well, it's not really the sexy part, really, is it?
No, it's not.
This mythology of passive income, and I'm not going to have a go at Pat Flynn because I really like the guy. I've met him a couple of times and I really love him. And he comes across as a really likable person. He's very similar when you meet him. So some people, their public persona doesn't really match their private, but it applies to him. But I do have problems with every time I do listen to his podcast, but I cringe at the beginning, build up passive income, and it's through a membership site, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's nothing passive about it, is there? Really?
No, it's not even, because I have people all the time ask me, well, can we just do this evergreen? Sure, we can build an evergreen funnel for your course. That's not a problem. But the problem is you have to apply the same types of work. You still have to write the emails. You still have to create the webinars. You still have to do the Q&As. You still have to do the social posts, the podcast guests, all of those things that you need to do to get a course off the ground. You have to build the audience. Yeah, you can build an evergreen funnel, but if nobody's coming in, then it makes you $0. And I guarantee you it didn't cost $0 to build. So you're at a loss. And I think a lot of people there's so many people out there who teach you how to launch. The problem is they teach you how to launch the way they launched. And that works for their audience. And if you're in the same marketplace as they are, that will probably work for your audience too, but not necessarily, because just because it worked for them doesn't mean that you don't need to tweak it for your own purposes, for your own style. I have clients who are viscerally opposed to podcast appearances. I'm one of those people who's viscerally opposed to podcast appearances, but I'm here.
You seem very comfortable here.
I have great respect for Miss Cindy. And so when she asked me to come on, I was like, okay, for you, I will. And then you have the people who have really great information in their head and they don't know how to get it out, or they take the time to get it out and put it into a course, but then they're burnt out and they're like, now I've spent, 70 hours of time mapping this course out. I don't have the energy to get it out to the market because they're just done.
Well, Cindy's been really kind to me because I've had a bit of a brave heart because I forgot that she should be doing the first part of this interview, not me. I do apologise, Cindy.
No, you're good.
You should have barged in and said, I'm taking over. Like, there you go. It's been one of those days, Brea. I've been up since 5 dealing with stuff. Yeah. I don't know where to take this now, because you brought up so many good points, and we had Judy last week from ClickFunnels. Mm-hmm. She brought up some strong points, and the 30 minutes seems to go rather quick. So where do you think we should take this now? What's the important point you would like to make before we go for our break?
I think the most important thing for people who are for entrepreneurs who are considering launching a product is, one, you need to have the product at least almost to completion before you start thinking about launching it to the world. And then the other thing you need to do while the product is in process, whether you have a brilliant person like Cindy making it or you're doing it yourself, you need to be building the audience for that product. So you need to actually take a look at who your current audience is and seeing if that's the same people you're going to be launching to, because if it's not, you're going to end up with a non-starter of a product before you've ever put any kind of offers out there. Because it doesn't matter what you say to your current audience. If the product's not made for them, they don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest.
It's tricky though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit tricky. You know, it sounds so straightforward, but it's tricky, isn't it? Market fit, as I call it. Is that what you call it?
I call it your raving fans. So you can most of my clients have more than one business. So they have more than one bucket or container, however you want to phrase it, of people that they market to, of potential customers. And you could have raving fans for your bakery product over here, but those people who want your recipes or your muffins may not necessarily want to know how to start a bakery, which would be a totally different bucket of people, a totally different section of raving fans. Now, that doesn't mean they can't cross-pollinate. That doesn't mean you can't go to your people who are muffin fanatics and say, hey, have any of you ever thought about starting a bakery? Come over here. I'm going to teach you how. That doesn't mean that you teach these people how to start a bakery and you're like, hey, you want my recipe that absolutely knocks it out of the park every single time? This will make your child's teachers give them free tutoring. Come over this way. And it's all in how you talk to people. And then it's asking for, do you have a friend or do you know somebody? Maybe you aren't starting a business. Maybe you aren't at this stage, but if you know someone, and it's all about how you address the very basic things about how you phrase your emails, how you phrase your marketing, how you phrase you, because now there are so many courses out there and most of them teach pretty much the same thing. If you're within the different marketplaces, right? You aren't going to take a course about social media from someone who doesn't know anything about social media. So if you're teaching social media, the tenets are fairly similar. You need to post on a regular basis. You need to do all these different things, but you're not going to market that to someone who's not interested. And that's where people get hung up is they try to push their products on people who are not interested, or they try to piggyback on a product that's already out there, forgetting that the thing that makes them different, the thing that makes you different, that makes me different, that makes Cindy different is you. You are the front runner for your product, and it's all in how you connect with your audience. Because if you really truly connect with someone, you're like, wow, I love how they're saying that. I've heard that before, but I never thought about it that way. Or wow, that's a different perspective. Then you've got gold. And it's finding that really fine line of marketing yourself and in conjunction marketing the product, or at least the framework of the product if you're still in production, and building that audience so that when you do open up the cart, you get those killer conversion rates that, everyone's like, oh, I got 30% conversion rate. I got 60% conversion rate. Y'all, that is not normal. It really is not. But they get that because they've honed their audience. And I think that's the biggest downfall for people when they launch is everyone goes into it with a perspective of, if I build it, they will come. And they don't see all the legwork leading up to that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think, it applies to plugin and new plugins. It applies to many areas, doesn't it? Online, as I was going to say, especially online, but I think it applies to everything. Mm-hmm. But what, doing this kind of unsexy grunt work is eliminating luck or decreasing luck, isn't it? Very successful people, I think we all need a little bit of luck, don't we? But I think really successful people diminish the amount of luck they need because they do all this they understand the market, they do all this grunt work, don't they, Bree?
Yeah, well, I'm in the camp of, I don't believe in luck. I don't think people just get lucky. I think they're incredibly smart and incredibly hard workers, and they just make it look easy. You don't see the fact that they have a team of 15 people behind them writing these ads, writing these emails. You just see them jumping in a pool and having a whole bunch of fun, and you want to be part of that too. They're very good at hiding all of the legwork that goes into it, the planning. Not a lot of people are willing to peel back the onion and say, okay, well, here is, it takes 90 days, 12 weeks, sometimes 6 months to really truly launch a course in a way that you get a responsive audience, that you actually can make the numbers that you want to make, that you can make the dollar amounts you want to make. And the bigger the launch, the longer the runway you need, because you need a bigger audience. You can't make them unless you're outrageously priced. You're not going to have $1 million launch if you only have a list of 500 people.
That's great. We're going to go for our break. When we come back, Cindy's going to take over. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back. I'm going to pass it over to Cindy, but before I do that, I want to quickly talk about one of my major sponsors, and that's Kinster Hosting. And Kinster hosts the WP-Tonic website and a few of my client website, and they are WordPress-only hosting specialists. And they really specialize in membership websites, e-commerce, demanding website that need a little bit extra hump to really run. And they provide really fantastic support as well. Plus, they've got all the bells and whistles. They've got staging site. Every day your site gets backed up. One-click retrieval. You can select whatever version of PHP. This is a bit techie stuff for the developer types. So if you're an entrepreneur or a developer, let's say you're a developer, I would suggest that you go. They're much better value and much nicer people to work with than WP Engine. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to really speed your website, it's a major failing when people have got a membership site. They go with cheap hosting. It just will not work, folks. But if you're really looking for a premier hosting provider, I can't recommend Kinster more. There's loads of banner adverts on the WP-Tonic website. We've got all our articles. If you go there and click one of those, they are affiliate links, and you'll be helping the show if you purchase through one of those links. I'm going to hand it over to Cindy now. Off you go, Cindy.
Okay. Hi, Bree.
Hello.
Thanks so much for being on the show. I always say when it comes to, creating courses or membership sites, there's really three main buckets. There's the technology, there's the creation of the course itself, and there's the launching of the course. So we have like this perfect trifecta here today in terms of the total support that I think it takes to really start from scratch to get that course launched. So can you just tell me a little bit about what it is about launching itself that appealed to you in terms of how you wanted to work with clients?
I love lists. I'm one of those weirdos who I love, like you have a problem. Great. I would love to see that. And I will make a list for you and I will tell you exactly what steps you need to take to fix the problem. And I do this to my kids. I mean, it's something that my husband's like, he comes home, he's like, why is there a sticky note on the bar? Because you have things to do. and it's just, it comes naturally to me to see an issue. And I kind of fell into launching by accident. I started out as a virtual assistant who was kind of a do-it-all, like Gal Friday situation. But as everyone has figured out at this point, or at least are on the way to figuring out, you can't be good at everything. And I found that I didn't so much enjoy the menial tasks, but I was really good at bossing people around. So that kind of led into, and that's just who I am. So it's a natural fit for me to be able to take a look at, okay, you want to launch this product? Let's take a look at your numbers, because you got to know your numbers. You need to know who's on your list, how many people are on your list, how long they've been there, how engaged they are. From there, let's figure out how big of a runway we need. Can we do this in 90 days, which is kind of my limit for a short launch, because there's a lot of back end work that goes on, because once the course is created, you've got to get it on the website, you've got to get the hosting, you've got to test it, you've got to test payments. Testing, people skip testing. It's one of those things that they're like, oh, it'll work, it'll be fine. And I'm sure Jonathan, he's over here Jonathan gets it, because it drives me crazy. And they're like, oh, well, it didn't work. And then suddenly you're manually entering 450 people into a course. Not kidding. So it's one of those things people assume, that you create the course, you put it to the public and it's gone, and that's not it. So it's the list making and the going down the checklist of things and setting aside time and knowing that, okay, at week 11, we are testing everything, or week 7, we are testing everything, and having those chances to go back through the course content. And basically just go down the checklist, make the checklist, go down the checklist. And usually those are the places where people are always like, wow, I didn't think about that. Because I go, okay, well, you can't launch something that doesn't work.
Yeah, there's so many balls in the air when you're going through the process of creating a course and then launching the course. There's just so many balls in the air that it's so important to kind of just have everything laid out for you in order to know what you should be doing next. So we need people like you to kind of really help keep us on task and organized, because again, often people who are course creators, they're very big picture kind of people, that they want to share their knowledge with the world, but there's a lot of that back end that needs to be done in order to be successful, right? Because there's tons of courses out there, but what we're wanting for our clients is to have this successful launch, not do all of this work and then have it just be sold to a handful of people. So would you say your process that you go through, like when you get a new client who's got a course to be launched, can you walk us through your process as to the steps that you take with them, from the beginning through to the actual launching it live? Absolutely. So the first thing I do is kind of assess where they are in the process. If they haven't created a course, then of course they need to call you. If they have hosting and everything is set up and it's the build is in process, we're good. If not, then, they're going to need Jonathan. And then figuring out what they want and where they are with their audience is the first step, because that will determine the length of runway. So do you have an audience that really wants to learn about muffin making? Yes or no? If you do, great. Let's go talk to them and figure out what your percentages are. And we can dive deeper into those and figure out, kind of almost predict what you could expect if we don't grow your list at all. And then we work through kind of the foundational elements of a launch, checking to see what the deadlines are for the build. If you're still finishing up creating the course, when that will be done, going through and revising everything, getting transcripts made. I actually had a gal who had a client or a customer who was deaf, and she wanted she could listen, but she wanted the transcripts made so that she could put those into her audio feedback so that she could sit and listen to it, not have to be on the computer. Or people who are blind as well. So there's all these weird things that you don't think about that need to be done on the front end because they take some time. Once those are in process, then we can start working on, testing out some Facebook ads. I know there's a lot of people who don't like ads, but they work. And if you can hone your audience, you can get them down fairly cheap. And they're not terribly hard to do. So getting those ads running, testing audiences, seeing what grabs and what really makes a difference, figuring out if there's going to be bonus content. Do you want to create all the bonus content yourself? Do you have other courses or other offerings you could bundle together? Or do you have friends who are in the same arena or who have complementary products that you could potentially have, assessing whether or not they want to use affiliates? If that's the case, how are we going to get them tracked, paid? Do we need to do a large CRM like Infusionsoft or Entreport, or can we do it through their actual, course platform like Thinkific or Teachable, or I think the other one is there's MemberMouse and a few others. Figuring out where all that lands based on what they already have in place and figuring that out early in the process versus 2 days before launch and going, oh crap, getting people to agree. You would be shocked.
I'm not shocked at all.
How many people are just like, yeah, it'll all work out, or they have people who say, yeah, I really want to help you promote this, and you're not going to do affiliates this round because it's just not in the cards, or there's not a clean way to make it work with what you already have set up, and it would be too much money to go backwards and fix it. And you'd be shocked at how many people are like, oh, you're not gonna pay me per person I refer, then I'm out. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going. And so we need to figure out who is in your corner early ahead of time. And then it's, checking in with the tech team. Are modules 1 through 4 loaded? Is the membership site working? Can people log in? Are we having issues with the payment platform and the CRM and the membership site talking to each other? Doing all that testing. And then testing it again. If there's issues we have found, once the fixes have been fixed, it doesn't always fix everything. Maybe you fixed the CRM side, but the membership site's still having issues. And so you need to assess that before you can launch. And in the meantime, you're working on, pre-launch content where, those are the videos that you see, or the ebooks that you see where people, give away something really amazing and free, or a small section of their course leading up to the launch to try and build their audience rapidly. You can do that. You can do lives, you can do podcasts. There's all kinds of ways to promote the course that start well before you open the cart, that you need to be doing from day one. And then also figuring out, the length of cart based on all of the things you've done, because people are always surprised that, generally speaking, a longer cart is not going to get you any further than a short cart. 3 to 4 days seems to be about the sweet spot, because you get that urgency for the entire length of cart versus people who have like a 2 or 3 week cart, where they're like, well, I'm getting 1 sale a day. What's going on? Well, because there's no urgency. They can get it tomorrow or the next day or the next day. And then, moving into testing payments, testing all of that stuff, and then actually doing the launch. And the launch is usually the most stressful part, because it's the true unknown. You can do everything right and everything could collapse, and you could totally stop what you're doing. I'm going to go away, right? Get out. Go. I apologize.
That was a client.
Oh, that was my 7-year-old. We have a babysitter.
He's a client.
Oh, bless his heart. He's going to go to bed when we're done. It's 12:30 my time. So, but it's keeping you focused on the things that need, because that's a very small, 30,000 foot view of a plan that takes anywhere from 9 weeks to 90 days. So 3 months to 6 months. And depending on what your team looks like, where you're at in the process, it looks different for everybody. And it's also, someone like me coming in and saying, okay, I really need you to focus. I really need your team to focus on these things. And then checking in to make sure stuff is getting checked off the list. Because it's super easy to go, oh, well, I'd so much rather do this thing over here. I'd so much rather work on this other thing. I'd so much rather, well, you know what? You can do that, but then we're behind and launch is not going to happen. And that time I asked that we should have been focused on this other thing now got waylaid, and we are, we're in a spot. So it's really keeping people focused on the process, going through the checklist one at a time. And I try to break out my checklists into what seems like ridiculously small tasks, but it's much easier to check off one thing that you can do and feel accomplished for the day, the week. And then, come back to it and go down the list. Cause in any given week you have 50 to 100 things that need to be done. And that's overwhelming. And so it's keeping that overwhelm in check. And then it's, launch week, you get to a point where the tasks are done. You've checked off your entire list, and now you have to sit and wait and be patient. And that's usually when I get phone calls of, people completely having a panic attack. And, we have to say, okay, well, let's breathe. Let's take a look at this. Let's look at our conversion rate. Let's look at numbers. Let's see how many lives. I actually had a client who freaked out, and she did her live on opening day. And then she had a full-on panic attack, called me and was like, I can't go live anymore this week. And I'm like, you have 3 more days of your cart. And she's like, I can't do it. So she didn't go live for 2 days. And she finally went live on the last day, because I basically called her. I was like, I will drive to your house and you will get that same verbiage I gave my child, and it's not going to be pretty. And she went live. And she sold over 50% of her sales that final day because she showed up. And so it's pushing when I need to push and supporting when I need to support. And I'm sure you both find that too, where, launch is stressful. But it doesn't have to be stressful the entire time. You shouldn't feel like you're suffocating while you're working on launching a product. If you do, you're doing it wrong.
That's great. We need to wrap it up, Cindy. The time's gone quick, but hopefully Bree will stay on for extra 10 minutes. And which you'll be able to see on the WP-Tonic website. Bree, how people can find out more about you and more about what we've covered in this great conversation?
You can go to www.breannagunn.com. That's Breanna with an E, which will, I believe, be in the show notes, correct? Yeah. So they can go to breannagunn.com and you can sign up for a free session with me where we can go over what you want to launch, if it's doable, if it's possible, what your timeline might look like, kind of give you an overview of the steps that you need, and kind of help you figure out where in the process you are, because that's usually where people get stuck first. If you don't want to talk to me, that's okay too. I also have a really great freebie that I created because I get asked a lot that what are the three mistakes people make during launch and the 3 things you need to know. So you can get that there as well.
Oh, thanks so much. And Cindy, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to, Cindy?
Yeah, so if you're anxious in creating a course but don't really know where to start or how to structure the course, you can come to thecoursewhisperer.co and you can reach out to me through that and we can help get that course out there.
And if you want to find out how WP-Tonic can help get your website set up and give you the freedom to concentrate on building that course, you can go to the WP-Tonic site. You can, like with Bree, you can book a free session with me and we can have a chat. And there's loads of resources and free downloads all over the website. We'll be back next week where we'll have somebody doing something with WordPress, membership, online marketing, basically giving you information to help you build that successful WordPress-powered course. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. Off you go, Cindy. Ask some more questions.
Okay, so the question, I often get this asked of my clients. So launch versus just having it evergreen. What are your thoughts around that?
Honestly, I try to encourage all of my clients to focus on longevity. So my preference is to have the option to do a live launch with, a full out content sequence leading up, an email series, all of that. But also, let's say your mom gets sick and you need to take off or you need to you'd rather have income coming in every month, even if it's less income, but it's spread over time. Then, an evergreen series is a good option. And usually, if you do a launch the right way the first time, do a live launch, you can very easily convert it into an evergreen series that you could turn on and off as you need it, as you want it there. I don't recommend that you have an evergreen series and a live launch running at the same time, however, because that usually leads to tears. So, because you lose, they're two different styles, but a lot of the same content goes into each. And a lot of the same work because you're still testing all that tech stuff and, you're sending people into the course in a kind of roundabout backward way. The biggest difference between evergreen and live is usually the bonuses. So usually if you're offered an evergreen version of something, you're not going to get the awesome bonuses that you would get while it was live because that's the whole enticement of getting it live. Usually evergreen is a discounted price or getting in when no one else can. That is the bonus versus, $18 million in value over here that we are offering from our wonderful friends and other producers and things like that.
So if it's like a membership versus say a course, like it's kind of this ongoing membership offer, what does a launch look like if you have kind of this existing membership site already going? How would you approach it?
It can go a couple different ways. I've had people do memberships where it was a membership that fed off of a course that they'd already purchased. So they had, in order to be eligible to get into this membership, you had to buy the course. And then once they went through, the 6-8 weeks of the course, they would get offered this membership that was like the next level of the content that was given in the course. So for that, it made sense to launch it to piggyback the launch on the back end of the course. And then it's a monthly fee, and they have the option to buy, quarterly, annually, monthly. I have a couple clients who have memberships that are evergreen, where they drop into, I like to do something called what I call microfunneling. I don't know if anyone else calls it that, where you, like my funnels max out at 5 emails or 5 touch points, and each section of, the larger funnel, it's easier to maneuver it and to make changes and to see where the changes are actually working in the process versus having, a 35-step funnel. So for those, you pull them in and you give them some really great free content, and offer them maybe a smaller, challenge or freebie or something, and then drop them into an evergreen series where they would get offered the membership, which they're excited about because the content that you gave them previously that they purchased directly relates to the membership or is, a free section. I have another gal who opens her membership once a year, and then the rest of the year she takes the themes for the month and she bundles them as mini courses and sells those for, I think it's $47. So you can't actually get into the membership, but when you buy one of the mini courses, once she opens the membership back up, they get a special rate for an annual membership because they've purchased. So there's really not bajillion, that is a real number, but not a legitimate number. There's a lot of different ways to launch memberships, depending on who your audience is, what you want to accomplish, how frequently you feel like you need to launch. And then the other factor a lot of times is exclusivity. How exclusive do you want this to be?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's funny with I would say 80% of the clients that I've worked with, the course has been always a springboard for a membership because, often the course is like a 101. It's like an introduction to this broader opportunity. And most of my clients have that's how they've planned their business model. Was they start with this online course that gives them access to this ongoing membership because, you want to learn the fundamentals, but then you also want to have access to the relationship with the course leader as well as just other community within that, because you've got a lot of like-minded people that have the same type of goals. So it's kind of a natural flow, I think, in terms of going from online course
it is.
to membership.
And there's the other side of the coin where you could take the membership, like if you do have a course, you could take the membership and make that free to, or make the course free to the members that are that are paying for your membership. So, if you only launch your course free once a year, but your membership launches once every 3 months, then that would be a way for them to get in and get the course included in that. And that would be the bonus for the membership launch. And memberships right now tend to be doing a little bit better than courses, like by inches, just because they tend to be lower price point. And the content is relevant and current. So it shifts and moves with what is going on in the marketplace at the time. And usually smart creators will cater to that. And it makes you feel heard, which nowadays it's really hard to feel heard. This is one of those few times when, I'm meeting with people face to face. And having that kind of a connection is huge, and people will pay for it. They'll pay big money for it if you do it right.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think kind of one of the things you've demonstrated as you've talked today is two things. Number one is how your launch process depends on you and your personality and what you like to do, because there are so many things you can do. So The ability to tailor your launch is easier now than ever. And then just number two, needing somebody to kind of help make sure you check all the boxes as you go along the way. Because again, if you're an expert in your particular field, launching may not be your expertise. So having somebody to help you or have the guidance of what should I be doing now to the next step so that those launches can go as seamless as possible.
Right. Just like with your course creation.
Well, that's kind of what my philosophy is, like, stay in your zone, in your lane as to what you're good at, and bring in the experts to kind of help you up level what it is you're doing. So I totally agree with that. Jonathan, do you have any other questions at all?
No, just following because I think it just depends on the experience of the listener and viewer. You know, where you were talking, Brea, about the difference between a course and membership, and what I call this hybrid model. I see a few people doing where they actually have a course, and then for this kind of ongoing mentorship kind of group. Trying to find the right word for it, where you have courses, but you can also join a membership where you get access to the courses cheaper, and you also have group sessions.
Almost like a coaching circle.
Yeah, it's like I see that a lot of more sophisticated marketers, course creators going down that kind of hybrid model. What do you think about that, Bree?
It's working really well for a lot of people. And if you have good content and you can consistently generate quality content, that's a really smart way to go, where they buy into the membership and then they get discounted access to courses or vice versa. Where people get hung up, I found, is when they dump all of their knowledge into a large course and then they want to create a membership, but there's nothing new. And people aren't going to pay for the same thing twice. So you either need to break the course up, or you need to go full on membership with it and say the only way to get the course is through the membership, and then walk them through like you would in a live launch situation with a course where you provide Q&A and support. But you would adjust the pricing to attract the right kind of person for that. And you could almost set it up, like I said, like a coaching model almost, where you have weekly Q&A calls and stuff.
What do you think about trying to find the right word in here? I was going to say piggyback, but it's not the right word because that won't work. Finding in industry or established partners where you can add added value.
Like bonuses?
Well, kind of, I'm developing a project at the present moment with Lift LMS, which is a leading WordPress LMS plugin, and I'm going to be offering which they're going to help me promote, because it's going to diminish the amount of support tickets that they have to do around their plugin, because I'm going to be taking that off their plate, basically. Mm-hmm. So they're quite enthusiastic about supporting me around this product because they get business benefit from it. Right, or hopefully they will get it. That kind of arrangement. Do you see that working at all when somebody is doing a course in it, or offering? It could be about a particular product or utilizing a particular product, and so that product or service provider helps you promote the course. Was that making any sense? Was I waffling?
Yeah, I actually, yes, that makes a ton of sense. I actually have a client who is working with a larger, company who helps with like SEO situations, and they cross promote each other, and they do situations like this where, you have to pay for her course, but if you come in through their funnel or use their coupon code, you get a discount. Or in that case, we set them up as an affiliate, because it made more sense for them to have an affiliate account, so she could track how many leads were coming in, and then they promote that you are the one to go to, you're the one they recommend, and you set your price or whatever, you two agree on a price, or you agree on a percentage. Just make sure whatever it is, it's in writing. Not a lawyer, but I like to have everything in writing. So, but I think that could really work, and it could be very beneficial for both of you, because you get to the end of your 101. If they want to know how to go deeper, use more, they're more likely to buy another course from you, or a membership, or private coaching, or any of those other higher ticket items, because they've been introduced by something they really need and they trust, and this company's putting their power behind you. So I think it's incredibly beneficial. And whenever you have an opportunity like that, I think you should take it. Just take it cautiously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's got to make sense for both parties, doesn't it? It's got to be a kind of win-win, isn't it? There we go. I think we're going to wrap it up because I didn't know it's so late for Brea. Actually, so she's been a bit of a champion coming on this because it's a bit late for her. But I forgot to ask her what the time was on her side.
Oh, it's noon. We're good.
No, noon. Oh, I thought you said. I thought it was midnight or something.
Oh
no! Oh goodness.
Well, you're sending your 7-year-old to bed a bit early, then, aren't you?
Yep.
Or has he just been naughty?
Yes, he was being very naughty.
I was terrible as a child. I think back to my parents, they were so.
Oh, I was awful. And whenever I tell my mother, I'm like, "Oh, mom," she's like, "Oh, wait, I can do that." She's like, "This is karmic payback. Enjoy."
Yeah. My dad was 6'5" and he was a big guy. He only had to give me a certain look. He never, don't get it wrong, he never touched me ever, but he only had to give me a look, and that was enough.
That's the parent dream, right? Is to have the look and they obey.
It is a look like you just pushed your luck a bit too far, Johnny.
My son is almost as tall as I am. That doesn't work anymore. It worked when he was like 2, but now that he's like, yeah, mom, no.
We're going to wrap it up. I'm sorry there, folks. It was this week in childcare, but there we go. We'll see you next week where we're going to have a great expert like Brea sharing her information to you. What great value. You couldn't ask anything better than that, could you, folks? We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.